Hi guys, welcome back to Geeks 40k channel. Today's battle report, we have an Ork Warband on the rampage. They have pretty much overtaken this entire planet. Only a small force of Black Templar stand in their way and total victory. So it's been a little while since my Orks have been on the channel and in a battle report, so I thought they'd get them back out. I'm not ready yet to run any of the formations with everything else I'm painting up. The Orks are taking a break at the moment from modelling and painting while I do my Ultramarines and Space Wolves, and yeah, the list just goes on with everything that you need to paint up. So tonight's mission, we are doing tactical escalation, but to spice things up, we are using the Supremacy Tactical Objective deck. So the new one from Games Workshop, where it's harder to score victory points. It should be quite interesting to see who comes out on top. Objective markers are down, deployment's down as well. Number 4 here behind the Agilis line. Number 6 is in the middle of the battlefield, just because there always has to be one in the middle of the battlefield. Number 3 over here on the other side of the board behind the Agilis lines. Number 5 is all the way up here in the balcony at the back of the board. So this side of the board's quite heavy with objective markers. Number 1 is down here at this end of the building in the ruin, and finally number 2 is here in the ruined cathedral. Will it make any difference that there's more down that end than this end? It all depends on the look of the cards that you pull out. Let's go take a look at the armies. Contemptor Dreadnought is on the edge of the ruined cathedral, providing cover for his brothers. Is the Crusader squad that's lined up behind him, and next to them also some heavy firepower from the Predator. So they're on this side of the board with objective 2, really close to them if John pulls out the card. On the other side of them we have the other Predator, one with the las cannons on, in the middle of the board, ready to zoom up the middle if required to support the Land Raider. So inside the Land Raider is the Chaplain and the Terminator squad, obviously hunkered down in the heavily armoured cover that the Land Raider provides. And finally on the other side of the board we have a Rhino with the other Crusader squad in, and we have the Vindicator. So these guys are staring off. In the distance they can hear the rumble of the engines of the Orks, and the yells and the cheers as there's a large blob squad of 23 Ork boys getting ready to charge down at them. They have kind of got to go through the shell fire of the Vindicator. However, they are supported by their Death Dread here, but also the Battle Wagon with the knobs in, and the War Boss, and the truck with the Shooter Boys in, ready to zoom up the middle of the battlefield, maybe coming over this side. Kind of thinking that because I need to take that Vindicator out quite quickly. But on the other side of the board we have the small squad of Knob Bikers, all with power claws. These guys need to get up, get into combat and cause as much damage as they can. Again, they are looking down the middle of the board. This side I would say is looking weaker than that side, but I'm not 100% sure. There is a Land Raider there. And then finally for the Orks we have the other truck, which has got the flash gits in. These guys ready to lay down as much fire onto the Space Marines as possible, hopefully getting some good armor penetration with their shells, killing off as many Space Marines as they can. The Orks engines are revving, they're ready to go. The Space Marines are hunkered down, ready for the green onslaught that is coming their way. It's Orks turn 1. HQ for the Orks, I'm taking Gruk Face Ripper. He comes with his own Warlord trait, Bellowing Tyrant, so I get to re-roll any failed morale or pinning test within 12 inches of him. And I'm also taking a Pain Boy. This Pain Boy is on his war bike. Over to trucks, I am taking a 23 boy squad blob. In here there are 2 big shooters and a power claw. These guys are going to be walking across the table, hopefully causing enough damage to the Black Templars to give them something to think about and something to worry about. Next troop choice, I am taking a squad of Shooter Boys. All of these have been upgraded to Ard Boys. In here there is a rocket launcher and a knob with a big chopper. They will be mobile on the battlefield in a truck. Next, over to elites. I am taking a 4 knob squad, all on bikes, all with power claws. They are going to be joined by my pain boy, hopefully giving them a little bit of resistance to enemy fire and keeping them alive a little bit longer. Next squad is a 5 knob squad again. These guys are equipped with 2 big choppers and a power claw in there. They will be joined by Gruck in an open top battle wagon. And over to heavy support, I'm taking a 5-man squad of flash gits, or with snaz guns, in a truck. And finally, I am taking a Death Dread with rockets and 3 close combat claws. So this is the overview of my 1,500 point Ork army. Trying something new. I've gone for speed. I've gone for mobility up the battlefield. So expect to see all of my trucks and bikes zooming up the battlefield and the boys running all on turn 1, hopefully getting into the Templar's face as quickly as possible.
So let me introduce you to my 1,500 points worth of Black Templars. In HQ, I have a Chaplain double whammy, a Chaplain in Terminator armor, and a Chaplain in Power armor. The Terminator armor guy will be designated my Warlord. He has the Warlord trait of Furious Indignation, which means he'll be charging up to 2d6 towards an enemy if he fails his morale check. If you wonder where that came from, it was a White Dwarf publication that had a specific set of chapter traits for Black Templars and indeed Crimson Fists as well. The rest of my army looks like this. I've got 2 Crusader squads. Crusader squad that you can see now has a Power Fist embedded within there and a Flamer, and is otherwise standard Black Templar bolt pistol and chainsword fare. There are 8 Marines in there, plus a Sword Brother that has a Power Sword and a Combi Flamer. This squad will be riding around in a Rhino as their personal transport. The other Crusader squad is going to foot slog it. Again, I have a Sword Brother with a Combi Flamer and Power Sword. I have a Power Sword embedded in there as well. And like I said, they're going to be walking, but they will be walking alongside my Contemptor Dreadnought. My Contemptor Dreadnought has 2 Kera's Pattern assault cannons for extra orc killing goodness. On the subject of orc killing goodness, the heavy support section is quite busy with Vindicator for big pie plates of death, a Trilas Predator. I kind of figured Rich would bring a battle wagon or 2, and armor 14 is a problem otherwise. And I've also got a Predator Destructor, so that's an assault cannon plus 2 heavy bolters. The elite section, well, obviously the Contemptor is an elite choice, but I've also got an assault squad of Terminators, 5 guys, one of them with a Thunderhammer. They're riding around in a Land Raider Crusader because Templars do that and they like it. So that's my 1,500 points. There's not a lot of squads there. I'm a bit worried that there's a large number of Orks, but hopefully there will be enough here to win the day.
So my tactical objective for turn 1 is control the field. Basically score D3 victory points at the end of your turn if you control at least 2 even numbered objective markers. So with that in mind, I have an even objective marker down here, number 4. The bikes have moved up 12 inches. That means they are just about scoring that. So there's 1. The second one for me is number 6 here in the middle of the board. The battle wagon has also moved up 12 inches, so just about securing that one. So that is 2 even objective markers. Kind of glad, because out of the 4 that are down here, 2 were odd and 2 were even. So I got quite lucky there. I have to admit, they were on the right side of me. I could still move forward and score my tactical objectives. Everything else has shoved it into overdrive. They've turbo boosted up. They are flat out engines and throttle wide open going up the battlefield. Everything else is moved up to get me as close as possible to the Templars at the end of at the end of my movement, turn 1, ready for turn 2, ready for me to jump out of these trucks, ready for me to jump out of these open top battle wagon and get into combat, which is where we want the Orks as quickly as possible. These guys over here also ran, but I got quite lucky and managed to roll a 5 on both of these, so they've all moved up 11 inches. Nicely within range of these tanks over here, supported by these guys here. Shooting phase, the only thing that's really going to shoot is my 2 trucks, because they're going to have to snapshot anyway, but yeah, you know what, I'm Orks, I'm used to having to roll quite high for my shooting. So let's go see if I can do any damage. The gunner's in the truck down on this side of the board were the only ones that was in range. He took aim, he pressed his trigger as hard as he could and missed. He was being rattled around inside the truck as they were moving flat out. So you know what, I'm not going to yell at him too much for missing, but you know what, he could have at least hit once. The other truck was out of range, so that was the only thing to open fire. So at the end of the turn, I score. I score this tactical objective. I have rolled for it. I've rolled a 4, so I've got 2 victory points at the end of turn 1.
Okay, so the Land Raider has reacted to the bikes, moved forward 6 inches, just enough room to deploy the guys there. Obviously, they're going to be making an assault charge. Over in the building over here, Contempt has summoned his buddies up out of the ruins, reacting to the truck that's coming down. Shuffled the plasma gunner to the front so he can try and take it down. Further round into the centre of the battlefield, my Trilas Predator is looking at the truck, looking at the might of green screaming warriors in the centre there. Bit of a different story on this side of the battlefield though. Vindicator is feeling a little bit outnumbered. Made the decision to back up, kept him within the maximum range of the weapon, but just backing up a little bit scary, a little bit intimidating. The Rhinos done the same thing. We're going to let their side of the board come to us, sit it out a little bit. We're also backing up because we've got an objective down there that might come into play a little bit later on. However, the tactical card that I've drawn is to secure objective number 3. And viewers, friends, can you guess where objective number 3 is? That's right, it is right down here.
Miles away.
Miles away. Surrounded by Orks. Not a chance of getting anywhere near that. So, yeah, that's not to be this turn. But yeah, plenty of shooting to go. Plenty of targets. Let's see how the guys do. Can they hold their weapons straight as the Orks bear down on them? Let's see if they can hold their nerve. So the Vindicator gunner held his nerve. He's lobbed a shell high over the pipeline into the oncoming Orks, and you can see exactly what's happened. Bits of Ork everywhere and a massive crater left behind.
Yeah.
The Storm Bolter from the Rhino took a cheeky shot and took another little boy out as well, which is good. Into the centre, the Trilas Predator tried to take a lucky shot at the battle wagon, but the angles were tight and it wasn't to be. So it's got away with it. In fact, it's leading a bit of a charmed life because the gunner on top of the Land Raider Crusader took a shot at it as well and failed to hit it. So that's come through unscathed. But what's not come through unscathed are the bikes. They've taken a lot of punishment. The rest of the armaments of the Crusader have been firing at that target. And the Kerr's assault cannons have been whirring away, firing a hail of shells that way. And it's taken down 3 of the guys and left 1 on just 1 wound. Over here as well, the Predator fired its autocannon at the oncoming truck. Didn't actually penetrate, but the heavy bolters have taken it down. It's out of hull points. It's gone boom. The guys have jumped out and they are pinned. And probably rightly so, because there's some Terminators coming their way and it looks a little scary. I need to decide now what to do with these guys. They're eyeing up the targets. Do they feel lucky enough to make the charge all the way to the bikes? Or are they going to go for the easy route and take on those guys? You'll see in a second which way I go. Okay, so you can see which way the guys decided to go. By the time you took the modifier in for the terrain, it was the same roll either way. And I figured the bikes were probably more of a juicy target. And the Terminator Assault Squad has done their thing. The slashing of lightning claws and the fizz of the Crozius acronym have done their work. And the bikes are no more. So didn't get my tactical objective, but I did come out of turn with first blood. So it's not all bad.
So my tactical objectives this turn are secure objective 4 and secure the field. So that's D3 objective points if I hold 2 odd numbered objective markers. So the opposite of what I had last turn. Yeah, with that in mind, objective 4 is here. The Orks have just seen some of their knob elites on their bikes hacked down by the Terminators. So the truck has moved around. The shooter boys have jumped out. They are screaming towards the Terminators. I'm sure the Terminators aren't overly scared, but there are going to be a lot of firepower coming from these Orks, but they're also going to be joined in from the flash gits that can see them over here. They've turned around. They are actually pinned, so they are going to be firing snapshots over here towards the Terminators, hoping to take them out. Because with objective 4 being there, maybe if I need to do it in combat, I can consolidate back onto objective 4 and get another victory point this turn. The battle wagon, scared by the presence of the Land Raider on the field, has moved up. It has dropped Gruck and the knobs off at the back of the Land Raider. He's going to go into combat with this. They're going to try and get their power claws into the weak spots of the Land Raider, ripping it apart and blowing it up, hopefully. And then their next target is playing within sight, and then possibly looking at coming round this side of the board and hopefully clearing up the Contender Dreadnought and the Crusader Squad. Over this side of the board over here, the Orks moved up. They kind of stumbled a little bit as they were going up and over the pipeline. So yeah, there's going to be another turn of Vindicator hell coming their way. How many will I lose this turn? How many can survive? The Death Dread has moved up, hopefully going into combat with the Rhino that is down there, prizing that open and getting the juicy flesh of the Umis that are inside out so that I can crush them in the next turn. The Death Dread opened up with his rocket. He did take his time. He lined up the shot, but being an Ork, it went wayward. He didn't actually manage to hit a thing, which is really annoying. But down here, the Terminators have taken crossfire from both sides of the boys, the truck, and the flash gits. There's been a hail of bullets flying around here, killing off 2 of the Terminators. They pulled one down with these guys here, the shooter boys, opening up. A lot of shots. I think I only managed to do 5 wounds, but Jonathan managed to fail one. However, the flash gits with their snaz guns, they willed them into life. They pressed the button. They hit. I did 1 wound. Only 1 wound out of all my dice. However, on my AP roll, I rolled a 2. So Jonathan managed to fail his invuln save, killing off another Terminator. So I think it is time for the Orks to see some combat down here. These guys are going to go into the Terminators. Might tar pit them for a couple of turns, or might slowly kill them off. Or lose my Ork boys squad. Well, we'll find out if this is a silly thing to do. Probably at the end of this turn. The driver or pilot of the Death Dread. Fantastic charge of 11 inches to make it into the Rhino. He ran in. He smashed the front of it, blowing the engine up. The Crusader squad managed to get out and, well, not take any damage at all, really. So they are hulkered down between the building, the Vindicator, and the wreck of their Rhino down here. They've got a nice bit of cover. However, they are staring down at a big green horde coming towards them. Slowly, but they're getting there. The Land Raider also went boom. My Warlord and his knob bodyguards ran in, ripped this thing open, found all the weak spots on the Land Raider, prizing it apart with their power claws and blowing it up. There's obviously nobody in there, but that's a good marker now on the middle of the board. The Land Raider is gone. The behemoth that is the Land Raider is no more. So that's really the one of the only things I'm scared of. Down here, as you can see, my Ork boys failed to wipe out the Terminator squad. They did kill one, but they lost quite a few. I think they lost about 6 guys. They failed their morale check and have ran back 7 inches. So these guys are going to need to rally next turn. But on the plus side, Jonathan, Warlord, is down to 1 Terminator bodyguard. He's feeling quite exposed there in the middle of the battlefield. So as we head over to Jonathan's turn 2, it is currently 2-1 on victory points to the Orks. Me having failed to score any victory points that turn. That could be costly, but we'll just have to see what we can do next turn.
So guys, these are the tactical objectives that I've drawn. Secure objective 1 looks pretty straightforward. Objective marker number 1 is in the building down here at the back of the battlefield, so that's okay. Second card that I've got is Command the Field, which looks juicy on the outset. Score D3 plus 2 victory points, but you've got to have 2 even numbered and 2 odd numbered objective markers. So big reward, but yeah, it looks a bit complicated. You're looking at what I've got. Well, let's take you around the board and show you the movement at the same time, I guess. The Crusader squad over there, they're not happy about the Orks hiding out behind the pipeline, so they've moved forward. However, the Contemptor Dreadnought has heard the explosion of the Land Raider and is going to investigate, so he's climbing up the ruins there.
What the hell was that?
His Predator is coming along with him. The Trilaz knows exactly what's going on. The driver there can very clearly see the back of the Land Raider being torn apart. Doesn't want his vehicle to feel the same fate, so he's backing away while maintaining line of sight. Down here, these guys, the Crusader squad, they were on board that Rhino. Obviously, that's been destroyed. They're not thrilled. They've seen the threat of the Killer Can. They're moving away, but also eyeing up the guys who are responsible for destroying the Land Raider down there. So they're backing away. Over on this side, behind the building here, Vindicator has received orders that this building is now of interest to the Imperium. Objective marker number 1 is there. So he's backing up, but maintaining the appropriate distance to be in control of that objective, which is going to hopefully, as long as it's still there, going to save me a victory, score me a victory point later on. And then my lonesome Terminator duo down here, they've got eyes on the objective that's just behind the Aegis defence line there, and chasing down the Orks at the same time. I'm not sure the two things are compatible with each other, but they are running after the Orks. So there we go, that's movement done. Let's see what damage the Vindicator shell can do this time into the squad that's down here. So the gunner of the Vindicator fired straight and true enough. There was a small scatter, but enough to again cause obliteration over there. And thus the dance of Orks advancing and Vindicator going backwards continues for another turn.
Or will it?
Or will it? Yeah, I think it probably will. Down here, the squad, the Crusaders there, they saw the enemy Warlord, fired into there, killed 2 knobs. The Trilaz added its song to the shooting and has also wiped out 2 guys as well. And then finally, the Predator down here with the autocannon also took a wound down there, so that squad is much depleted. As a result of that, because so many were shot, the Contemptor didn't really have much of a line of sight over there, so he's swung his guns around and aided his comrades over here by the pipeline and shot some of the Orks that were hiding out down there. And the Crusaders themselves, in particular the Flamer, have managed to rout the Orks in there and taken down 3 of those guys. So it just leaves 2 behind and a morale check to follow. Up at the top here where the Terminators are at, the Chaplain did fire a Stormbolter into the back of the Orks that are retreating, but it failed. So a vicious round of combat there.
The chaplain and his buddy charged down the remaining orcs that were running away and wiped them down. They are out of the game, and they've consolidated just over the top of the Aegis line to grab that objective. Not that it's worth anything really more than a moral victory. Over here, the pipeline didn't really serve as much of a defence. The Templars clambered over with their chainswords buzzing, and wiped out that squad. So they fought valiantly, died miserably. And they've consolidated slightly towards this objective, just in case it becomes useful later on. It was a pretty poor consolidation roll of just 2 inches. So that is assault done. Let's go back and have a look at my tactical objectives. And just to remind you, I basically need to own every single objective on the board or something equally ridiculous, command the field, which I didn't achieve. But I did get the small victory of having objective 1. So that makes the score 2 victory points each and redresses the balance.
So obviously I've still got my 2 objective cards from the last turn, which is secure objective 4 and secure the field, which is get 2 odd objective markers. And I've also got target the enemy veterans, which is basically 1 victory point if I kill off the elite's choice in shooting, and also 2 victory points if I kill them off in combat. So with secure objective 4 being here and having 2 Terminators sitting on it, which is an elite choice, I can't do anything about it because I've got really nothing on that side of the board. But this one here, secure the field, which scored D3 victory points for 2 odd objective markers. So with that in mind, the truck has backed up onto objective 3. Now I have moving battle wagon back for objective 6, just in case that comes into play a little bit later on. My boys, they've changed their angle slightly. They know what's going on at the top end of the field with the Death Dread. So these guys are changing tack. They're going to run. Probably call a war just in case I get a 6 and get lucky and can get into this squad here. These guys here have moved off the back of the Land Raider that they wrecked earlier. Possibly going into the Contemptor that is an elite.
It is an elite choice.
It is an elite choice there, so I could get a victory point from that. I'm just very conscious about how much firepower this thing has going into it, but I could run with a war. Over here, the Death Dread has moved up, ready to destroy the Vindicator. Objective marker 1 is in this building, so if I can destroy that Vindicator, and with that truck sitting on objective 3, there is a chance that I could get 3 victory points, possibly a 4th here. Let's go see if the Orks have got the right battle plan. The gunner on the front of the truck took dislike to the fact that he's seen his buddies, his Ork friends, mown down and slaughtered by the 2 Terminators. So he took a shot. He did 1 wound, but obviously the Terminator armour too strong to really mind a couple of shots from a big shooter. These boys down here, they ran 2 inches. So annoying. I thought I might get a bit higher on the table, so it leaves me an 11-inch charge, but I have called a war, so yeah, that probably won't happen. But down here, these guys have also ran up, ready to go into assault with the Contemptor Dreadnought, and finally, the Death Dread down here opened up with its rocket on the Vindicator, missed wildly. That's Ork shooting for you. So it's going to be over to assault. I'm hopefully going to destroy the Vindicator and hopefully destroy this Contemptor Dreadnought in combat. So in the end, I decided not to take these guys into combat. They needed 12 inches. And there's a possibility of Overwatch, which means the front guy would have gone, which means the rest of the guys wouldn't have been in. So I decided not to do that this turn. Down here, the one thing the Orks are meant to excel at is combat. I wouldn't overly say that was true this turn. Yeah, because this guy went in, he did 2 penetrating hits. This thing is immobilised. It's also weapon destroyed, so it has lost its big boomy cannon. However, because it's got 1 hull point left, this is contested. So I don't score my victory point for holding 2 odd objective markers. Over to me trying to kill off an elite, I lost 2 knobs. The Carius assault cannons whirled into life and fired their bullets straight into the advancing war boss and his bodyguard, killing the pair of knobs off, and taking, well, in the combat I lost a wound on my war boss and I did nothing back, absolutely nothing at all. So the Contemptor Dreadnought is perfectly fine. They are locked in combat, which I suppose might actually be a good thing considering what's around here to open fire on him next turn. Now he is on his own. So pretty uneventful turn for the Orks that I scored nothing.
So here's the objective markers that I have. Still got Command the Field hanging around my neck, which is a little bit irritating. I have Storm Objective 3, which is right behind the truck and too far away from any of my units to be of any value right now. And I've just pulled out Defend Objective 6. So if I've got that for 2 consecutive turns, I'm going to earn myself 2 victory points. Now, as a result of pulling that card out, the Crusader squad down here are making their way towards that objective, and in fact during the shooting phase I'm going to run them to get them a little bit closer. Other movement, well, the chaplain and his one remaining bodyguard have stayed put. Battle continues in this building here. The Predator has moved around the building there. It's got a long shot into that squad just there. So those Orks are going to get an unsuspecting round from a distance. My Crusader squad down here have moved around the building in order to also to get line of sight onto that squad down there and do some shooting. My Trilas Pred has moved around my Land Raider, which was blocking its line of sight. We're going to have another go at that Ork vehicle there because it's sitting on Objective 6. I want that destroyed so I can claim that for my own. So fingers crossed his las cannons will do the job better than they have done up until now. And then just to remind you the status of Objective 1. My Vindicator is clinging on to life doggedly. It is utterly useless. I can't ram him because I can't move. I can't shoot him because I have no guns and I have 1 hull point, but it is still in the game. However, I have basically given up on it. It is useless. It has been abandoned, and we'll move on from there.
In the absence of anything better to do, the chaplain down here raised his Stormbolter and took a cheeky shot at the truck that's just down here. Needing a 6 in order to glance it, believe it or not, did it. So there you go. For what it's worth, there's a hull point down. Across the battlefield, the Predator's autocannon fired, and there was an Ork just there that is no longer with us, blown away. His buddies are probably wondering where on earth that shot came from. They did get away pretty lightly, however. On closer inspection, the squad down there really didn't have much of a line of sight. There was one solitary guy poking around the building, which was all we had. 5 guys managed to hit it. He's dead as well, but that's as much damage as I can do. The Trilas managed to strike the vehicle down here. Sadly, failed to penetrate. The front armor of 14 was just too strong. And the squad over here in the shooting phase they only ran 3 inches. They're inching their way towards that objective. But while that vehicle is there, that's going to be contested. We're going to move on to assault. I don't think assault is going to go too well for me down here, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, so as you might have expected, the otherwise useless Vindicator has been eliminated. It is dead by lack of hull points, and there you go, no surprise there. What's happened across the battlefield down here, well, apart from the fact it's fairly self-evident by the huge plume of smoke, the Ork Warband has destroyed the Contemptor. which actually is a little bit of a frustration for Rich, because he was required as one of his tactical objectives to eliminate an elite choice at the end of his turn. So the way we read it, which kind of sucks, and I do actually feel sorry for him.
I'm actually crying.
Means that doesn't count, because it's not at the end of his turn. I think that's really sad. I actually tried to save him. I remembered that he got a 6-up invulnerable save, thanks to his reactor. But I rolled the dice, and of course, because it's me rolling the dice, there were no 6s. But I did try. On the subject of trying, the Contemptor did try to defend himself, and I think he may have caught the back of the Warboss's head with one of his assault cannons and caused him a wound. But he is unfortunately dead, and yeah, like I said, I do feel sorry for Rich on that front. But the battle must continue, and we move on.
So, my new tactical objective for this turn is careful timing, which is basically hold the objective marker that corresponds with the turn number. So that is turn 4 now. So I have secure objective 4 and careful timing that the Terminators are hunkered down on. But then again, I also still have target the enemy veterans, thanks to me killing off the Contemptor in Jonathan's turn and not my own. So, with this in mind, I need to bring the boys round. So these boys here have come round. They've swung round. Their attention is now on this squad here. I need to try and shoot them and then probably, hopefully, get into combat with them. Grook is going to be going into this Predator round here. Now, obviously, I've still got this hold the odd objective numbers. So the truck has stayed still, its engine ticking over, its boys foaming at the mouth because they are literally just sitting there. But the big shooter is going to open up at the Terminators. He is going to take aim over there. Now the Vindicator is dead. My Death Dread is on objective 1. So I've definitely scored a D3 victory points for holding these two. So that's good because I'm on 2 at the moment. I need to kill this squad and then swing round to here. But obviously, the card that's corresponding with the turn number will become turn 5 next turn, and that's all the way down here. So I really need to think about this carefully, about what I'm going to do. The gunner in the truck in the distance took aim at the Terminators on objective 4. He unleashed the big shooter. He rattled these Terminators but didn't do any damage whatsoever. The boys on this side of the board, in the battlefield in the middle, they opened up at the Templars, not doing any wounds whatsoever. However, I made it into combat. But because of the green skin hordes, I got Hammer of Wrath and killed one off. And then I think Jonathan killed one of my Orks off in combat.
I don't think I did that, did I?
I think you killed one to Overwatch, and then I basically laid the smackdown of pain on them, killing off 6 in total, plus the one that was in in the Hammer of Wrath charge. So there's only 3 guys left. So next round of combat, hopefully clear them off the board. Turn all attentions down to these guys down here. My Warboss is free again. He went into the Predator. He destroyed it. He blew it sky high. Now, objectives for this turn. I hold objective 3, which is here, and I hold objective 1, which is up in the corner with my Death Dread. So I score secure the field, which is a D3 victory points for holding 2 odd numbered objectives, which I do. So I'm now going to roll this on camera to see how many victory points I get. It's a 3, it's another 2, so I am up to 4 victory points.
We've done the sums, and it's 5-3 at the moment in favour of the Orks, assuming that everybody stays where they are, particularly in terms of line breaker. I've just pulled out another card related to objective number 6. So it would appear that there is a party in the centre of the battlefield to which the Black Templars are not invited. Since everything seems to be going on in that direction, I'm moving my Crusader squad over that way. We're going to go and take a look at that. see what's going on. I seriously contemplated doing something about this Death Dread round here, but just where the Predator was, there's just no clear line of sight, and it's too far to start driving around and going after it. So in order to close the gap a little bit and hope the cards land in my favour later on, my Predator's going after the Warlord. I'm going to las cannon him in the back.
So harsh.
And hope he dies. And that's at least 1 point, which closes the gap down a little bit. I've got to hope that either these guys do something miraculous in combat, or these guys take over Objective 6. Because if I get Objective 6, I'm laughing and we have a whole heap of points, because it seems the entire world is focused on Objective 6 right now. The chaplain down here, again, in the absence of anything better to do, has done another cheeky shot, and he leads a charmed life. He's taken another whole point off that truck. Well, that's great. In the centre of the battlefield, shooting was a bit of a non-event, but I went straight into assault. The Crusader squad down here charged into the battle wagon, and a combination of melter bombs and power fists mean that vehicle is destroyed. However, one of the sword brothers, one of the brothers fell in the resultant explosion, couldn't get away quick enough, and he's fallen to that blast. Just a little bit above there, my squad is much depleted. The sword brother is valiantly fighting on. I took out, 2, 3 guys?
Yeah, 3.
3. And I've lost 2 of my own Templars as a result of that combat. So the Sword Brother is valiantly fighting on, but he's now alone, and that doesn't usually end well. And that's the end of that turn. It is getting really close. I need to make my way towards Objective 6, which I'm doing, which is good, but I've got a feeling that I'm going to run out of turns beforehand, and of course, who knows what the cards are going to deal next.
So my 2 new tactical objectives for this turn are priority orders received. Roll the d6, hold the objective marker that it corresponds to, get a victory point. If it's your Warlord, d3 victory points. But as my Warlord is dead, that's never going to happen. But I've rolled a 3, so that's always good. Let them bleed. Score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if at least 1 model was removed as a casualty from 3 different units. It's not going to happen. I just can't do that, more than likely. Possibly, maybe. Let's go and have a look. I rolled a 3 for my priority orders received. This is objective 3 here, the one with my truck sitting on it. So, he's shuffled around a little bit. He's moved back. He's going to open fire. So I'm thinking let them bleed here. So my truck is going to open fire at the Terminators. You never know. I might get lucky and kill one of them off. This squad down here, the Death Dread, has stepped out of his cover of the ruins and is eyeing them up with his rocket. He's going to shoot them. Maybe I will kill one. Maybe I will kill a Terminator. And then maybe I will kill this guy off in combat. So that would secure me a victory point. Honestly, don't think it's going to happen, but you never know. These dice guards are fickle and sometimes they can smile on you. But I know that I'm guaranteed at least 1 victory point from the truck here, sitting on objective marker 3. The gunner, again, he's had enough turns now to get his eye in on these Terminators, but he opened up and didn't wound anybody. Got 2 hits on them though, so that's always good. It's just that Terminator armor and this, it's just far too strong. So I didn't kill anything from that squad, so that was automatically that let them bleed objective gone. This guy opened up with his rocket. He managed to spin the rocket through the buildings and miss wildly. It went off in a random direction. These Orksies are good at shooting. And then over here in combat, I managed to kill the remaining Crusader that was there. So these guys have consolidated up 3 inches, looking at heading towards objective 4. Can they kill off those 2 Terminators and score me like 3, 4 different victory points? Maybe if we get to turn 7. But I've definitely scored 1 victory point. So that will take me up to 6, including Line Breaker.
Having drawn the new objective cards out, I've now gained Secure Objective 3, and Storm Objective 3 was already in there, which makes Objective 3 all of a sudden look a little bit more interesting. I didn't fully read the card, if I'm honest, for Objective 6. Didn't realise I was only going to score victory points if Objective 6 was previously occupied by an enemy unit. It's been occupied since the battle wagon was destroyed. So that doesn't necessarily lend itself too well to picking up victory points. However, let's go and have a look at Objective 3. It's held by a weak and flimsy truck. So I've charged my Crusaders down. And if I get this right, then we might be able to blow that up in combat and be on point for that objective and score some victory points. So tactics have changed slightly. I quite like these new decks. It's really good. Also, the two little guys that were hiding out here on Objective 4, they're coming out to play. I'm thinking about assaulting these guys, and if I do get lucky and destroy them, then I might consolidate onto Objective 6 and hope I stay there long enough to score a victory point by securing it. And to balance that strategy up as well, or to augment that strategy, the Predator down there's just got a line of sight through the wreckage on the battlefield to the back of that squad. So I'm going to soften it up with las cannons, soften it up with a storm bolter, and then hopefully charge it and finish it off. So the gunner in the Predator shot through that little sight lane, took out 3 guys out of that squad.
My poor boys.
My poor boys shot in the back. However, it's not all bad news for them. The chaplain with the storm bolter failed to hit, and then they fluffed their assault roll, so no combat there whatsoever. Not so down here, where we have a wrecked truck. And that wrecked truck is particularly lucrative right now, because if I swing around and show you the back of the truck, you will see an objective marker hiding out, and you'll see my guys next to it. And this is particularly good news. If we cast our minds back to the cards that I have, then I have Secure Objective 3, which is worth 1 victory point simply for having Objective 3. But I also have Storm Objective 3, which is worth D3 victory points, because it was previously controlled by the truck, which is now a wreck, and it's controlled by my guys instead. That's worth D3, so we're going to do that right now.
It's a 1.
It's a 1. That's okay. Still 2 victory points for this turn, which is good. Better than nothing. Yeah, let's see how much more of a game we've got left.
So I've got Defend Objective 2, which is score 2 victory points if you control Objective Marker 2 for 2 turns. Not going to happen. It is right the way down here, next to the Wreck Contemptor in the Cathedral. I have no orcs in the vicinity of that objective marker. It is not happening. No mercy. Score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if at least 1 enemy unit was completely destroyed during either your shooting or assault phase. Or D3 if you kill off 2 units, 1 in the shooting, 1 in the assault. Not going to happen. However, careful timing. Score 1 victory point at the end of your turn if you control the objective marker whose number corresponds to the current turn number. It is turn 6. So with that in mind, my orcs have changed priority. They were looking at the Terminators, shooting an assault in them, but they would have been minced in combat. So they have moved on to Objective 6, securing that for me at the end of the turn. The only other thing that I have alive is the Death Dread, and that is basically set back inside the cover. These guys might open up at the Terminators. Little side note, these guys did open fire, but Orks, in their true glory of shooting, completely and utterly missed. They're quite close, so their aim is terrible. Good old Orks. However, I score a victory point for that there. So it's going to be over to John for his turn 6. What cards will he pull out of the deck? Will he be able to pull back some victory points? I think it's 7-5 at the moment. So he needs to get another 2 victory points just in case this ends to cause a draw.
So the cards I've been dealt with this turn are not particularly helpful. Primary target means I have to destroy something big. And the only thing that constitutes something big at the moment is the Death Dread that's just down here, that nothing has line of sight on it. The other ones I've been granted as well, Storm Objective 2 and Storm Objective 1. Both of those are kind of reliant on having Orks actually on the objective first in order for me to score any points.
The Death Dread's on number 1.
Yeah, so Death Dread's on number 1. That makes Death Dread interesting, but I've got my Predator, which I've moved down to go in that direction. But it won't get a shot off this turn. There's no guarantee we're going to get any more turns, so I've kind of written those off in my head. Talking about writing things off, objective number 3 down here, 30 seconds ago, was the most important place in the entire world. But something occurred to me looking at the cards. I have got Storm Objective 6 sitting in the cards, and that was useless because there were no Orks on there. But now Rich has moved his guys to claim a victory point last turn onto that objective. It means that Objective 3 is of no interest. Objective 6 is of massive interest. Having said that, my Warlord has spotted the opportunity to break through the Ork lines, and I've moved him back because in sort of my haste to kill off units, I moved him out of line breaker position, and that victory point might become really important later on. So I've moved him back to claim line breaker. These guys, they're going to go into assault. I hope I don't fluff the roll and they do get on the hill. And then I do hope I kill them off as well, because that's another D3 victory points to my name if I can get that right. So let's hope I don't lose too many to Overwatch. And let's hope they do some damage when they get there.
The Black Templars have rushed Objective 6. They have wiped out the Orks and are standing, for the moment, proud on top of that objective. Let's take a look and remind ourselves. So Storm Objective 6 scores D3 victory points if I control Objective 6 at the end of my turn, which I do. What's that worth in point terms? 2 victory points. Now we need to see if the game continues and we get another turn. So Rich is on hand with another dice. We don't.
So there we go then, guys. That is the end of the battle. Totaling up the victory points, it's actually 7-all. It is a draw. The Orks are only left with the Death Dread that is down here on hiding behind the building with Objective 1. If we'd have got a turn 7, I think that would have gone boom, to be quite honest. However, the Templars did really well to claw that one back. I think it is obvious that the Emperor does truly protect. When these guys managed to scrape a draw from what looked like, towards the end of turn 6, it looked like it was a win for the Orks, but it was good leadership from the Chaplain Warlord leading the Templars today. So these guys are in stalemate. They're going to have to fight again at some point to see who is truly victorious on this planet. Guys, that was a truly bloody affair, to be quite honest. Neither side has got much left. Absolutely great. Them new Supremacy tactical objectives, really good fun. Makes you jump around the board quite a lot and makes you rethink what you are doing. I hope you enjoyed that as much as me and John enjoyed playing that game. To be honest, guys, that was brilliant. If you like, please leave us a comment. It'd be great to hear your feedback. And please press that subscribe button if you like what we do. And we will see you on the next one.